Injecting life into downtown Kingston with art and culture. Weekend Business Report starts right now. Hello and welcome to the show. I'm Kenil Gale. Thanks so much for joining us this week. The rehabilitation of downtown Kingston is well underway and the stakeholders want more investors. We'll tell you about the latest opportunities in a bit, but right now here are some of the top stories from the BATV News Desk. Jamaica now has access to another $285 million in loan funding in the event of a natural disaster. On Monday, Prime Minister Andrew Holness signed a new contingent loan agreement with the Inter-American Development Bank, IDB. Mr. Holness made the announcement as he delivered the keynote address at the IMF's high-level conference on building resilience to disasters and climate change in the Caribbean. Javon Keys has more.
Countries the world over, especially small island developing states like those in the Caribbean, have been concerned with becoming more climate smart and disaster risk resilient. However, the biggest challenge to achieving these goals has been to secure funding to cover the costs. Well, in the event of Jamaica being impacted by disaster, recovery efforts should be a little less burdensome, as Prime Minister Andrew Holness today signed a contingent credit facility for over $280 million.
I am encouraged and very pleased to announce that later today, I will sign with the IDB a new kind of loan product, a contingent credit facility for US $285 million. This facility will provide immediate financing during the emergency recovery phase after a sudden event.
The Prime Minister says this is just one of the many steps being taken by the country to reduce the likelihood of being adversely affected by weather shocks. Another part of the strategy is the establishment of a financial management policy which will look at the fiscal risks of natural disasters.
I'm very proud to state that in Jamaica, our Ministry of Finance and the Public Service is leading the process to develop a public financial management policy for our natural disaster risk platform, and our international development partners are supporting this initiative. Among other things, this policy will improve our understanding of the fiscal risk of natural disasters and recommend various financing strategies relating to ex-ante financing strategies to support our targets for fiscal and debt sustainability.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Andrew Holness says his administration is committed to a frugal fiscal policy that will see the Jamaican economy booming in the long term. He was addressing members of the diaspora at a town hall meeting in Washington, D.C. during his U.S. trip. More in this report. Prime Minister Holness told members of the diaspora that Jamaica's political maturity has improved significantly since independence.
That we have a political class that understands that. So if nothing else that we can say, yes, we have accomplished in our 56 years of independence, is that we're seeing emerging the social consensus and the political class that will protect the social consensus to ensure that good governance and strong fiscal policies remain in force.
He admitted that many of the fiscal policies now being implemented by his administration were possible because of the foundation established by the previous administration.
So, good fiscal policy, we have instituted them, we put them into laws and regulations, and we're building institutions. There is the emergence of a political class of thinkers, and be assured that the political class of thinkers, not just in one political party, it's emerging in both political parties, which is why the consensus is maintained. So the primary surplus sacrifice of 7% every year started with the PMT, continued with the GLP. And it will probably continue going forward.
In the meantime, the Prime Minister is calling for more support from the United States to help improve regional economies. He was speaking at a reception in his honor in Washington, D.C. on Tuesday, where he said the Caribbean felt left out by the Trump administration. Jamila Maitland has the details.
Prime Minister Holness, who is also the current CARICOM chairman, argued that Caribbean countries feel abandoned by the Donald Trump administration.
The region feels ignored, neglected. Someone in the U.S. administration once said the Caribbean is the third border of the U.S. That border needs protection. It needs attention. It needs focus.
He explained that many countries within the region are positioning themselves for growth by embarking on serious economic reform while repaying debt incurred by successive governments.
We had to reserve 7% of our primary surplus every year to pay that debt down. That meant we had to sacrifice for the schools and the hospitals and the roads in order to do that. So effectively, as a nation, we had to confront borrowing of the past that was not necessarily used for the benefit of the people and pay for it from today's earnings. We will never make that mistake again.
However, he added that while the negative indicators are trending down, there's a lot more work to be done.
We still have a long way to go. But you know what? We are on the right path. We are on the right track. All the arrows are pointing in the right direction. Our interest rates are down. Our inflation rate is down. Our exchange rate is flexible, but it is finding its band of stability. Crime, yes, crime is trending downwards.
Moving on now, government officials and private sector leaders gathered in downtown Kingston last Monday for the launch of the Kingston Creative 2019 program and the first 50 Impact Investing campaign. Here's what it was all about.
Kingston Creative is a non-profit organization that aims to develop the art and entertainment industry of Jamaica, especially in downtown Kingston. The organization actively seeks out support from individuals who may be interested in contributing funds. An investment launch was held on Monday to help convince investors who are willing to support the initiative. Minister of State in the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, Alando Terilong, told the audience that there was already a donation of $1 million from Andrea Dempster Chang towards the project, and his ministry will be matching that.
Andrea had the idea of the first 50 and donating $1 million. Well, I can commit that we're going to be donating $1,250,000 towards the project.
The core purpose of the launch was to inform individuals about the vision of Kingston Creative in developing the art and entertainment industry of Jamaica and to seek the first 50 organizations willing to invest funds.
Launching the first 50 campaign, we call you all here today to answer the question, who will be part of the first 50? And that's hashtag first 50.
Specific emphasis was also placed on the development of downtown's infrastructure. Mayor of Kingston, Delroy Williams, said the badly damaged roads in downtown Kingston will be repaved using paving stones.
Initially, that might cost us somewhere between up to probably $40 million for the first set. And then after that, we'll take the next set. What we have discussed this morning now, because the discussion is that for where the artwork is, the murals and so forth, that we would, and I believe the office contacted you in terms of if you have any ideas, in terms of we would use paving stones for the areas on those streets where you have the murals and so forth, to try and lift them.
Mayor Williams also said other projects will be executed to help revive the area.
Creating a recreational and historical space within the parade area, from Ward Theatre, across Simon Boulevard Center, the Cope Methodist Church, Kingston Parish Church, right across the Big Tree. That is an area of rich history. And it cannot be just as it is now with all the buses coming in disorderly. To borrow, I mean, we know I'm going to face it, it's not clean. Jamaicans will say nasty. We have to clean up that area. Part of cleaning up that area in a long-lasting way is to transform the area into a recreational historical space. Take the buses out of the parade area. I've already spoken to the Prime Minister on it and the Minister of Transport. We have already set a team together to begin to discuss the logistics. We are also recommending from the municipality that we construct a true transport center, and we can donate the lands. The municipality is willing to donate the lands for that, but we need a proper transport center that will work out how public transport enter and leave the city.
Meanwhile, CEO of Paperboy JA, Jeff Lewis, is throwing his company's weight behind the initiative while urging more supporters to get involved.
We at Paperboy JA believe that this initiative will have a positive impact on the creative landscape of Jamaica, and it will encourage social and economic upliftment in the local community. It is for these reasons Paperboy JA is proud to be one of the first founders of this initiative, and Downtown Kingston Creative Art, Kingston Art District and Creative Hub, and we encourage other business owners to join with us in this initiative.
For BATV News, I'm Nordia Francis Williams.
Company news comes up next, then later, mission to Mars. Could that planet be our next home? We'll seek some answers in the final segment of the show. More WBR after this break. Welcome back to Weekend Business Report. Fontana confirms IPO, Regus opens New Kingston property, and JMB Group records billion-dollar half-year. Here's this week's company news.
Fontana Limited has confirmed that its over 120,000 customers will soon be able to buy shares in the company. The pharmacy chain says it's working towards an initial public offering IPO of shares through broker Scotiabank Investments. However, the company has not yet revealed the size of the offer, pricing, or when the IPO will be announced. Fontana is the leading pharmacy chain in Jamaica with 5 stores across the island. A 6th store is now under construction at the Waterloo Road and West Kings House Road intersection in St. Andrew. It's expected to be completed in the summer of 2019. The company says the new location will be the biggest and best Fontana yet, offering Jamaicans a totally new shopping experience. Regus is valued at some £2.1 billion. The company, which opened its Jamaica location on Tuesday, provides the largest network of serviced office space globally, with some 3,300 spaces in 1,000 cities across 110 countries. The Jamaica office is located in the Panjam building in New Kingston and is the company's 3rd setup in the Caribbean, having already established offices in Barbados and Trinidad and Tobago. Managing Director of the Regus franchise in the Caribbean, Mark Linhan, said the New Kingston office offers a wide range of office solutions. JMB Group made over $2 billion in net profit for the first 6 months of their financial year. The company also recorded operating revenue of over $9 billion for the same period. JMB Group says the performance was largely driven by growth in its core business operation, that is, its net interest income, foreign exchange trading gains, and fees and commission income. CEO Keith Duncan says the performance reflects its commitment to improved operational efficiency and the embedding of the company's client experience and financial partnership culture.
Let's now take a look at the closing numbers from the major stock markets around the world. When we come back, more of the week's top stories from the BATV News Desk, so stay with us. Welcome back to Weekend Business Report. More news now. There was a massive shakeup of Scotiabank operations across the region last week. The bank announced that it was pulling out of 9 countries across the Caribbean. The decision left unions, employees and customers upset. Members of the Union Network International have described the move by Scotiabank as akin to a thief in the night. Shoshana Small has more.
Members of the Union Network International traveled to Jamaica to stand in solidarity with the Bustamante Industrial Trade Union against Scotiabank's decision to move some of its operations from Jamaica to the Dominican Republic. But while here, Scotiabank was making moves within their territories.
To our very surprise, this morning, as the General Secretary of the Antigua and Barbuda Workers Union, and like many of my colleagues in at least 8 other Caribbean countries in the OECS, received letters this morning that Scotiabank is selling its business in those islands without any mercy.
The Trinidad-based Republic Financial Holdings Limited has entered into a US $123 million agreement to acquire Scotiabank banking operations in 9 Caribbean territories. These are banks in Guyana, St. Martin, Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica, Grenada, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. General Secretary of the Antigua and Barbuda Workers Union, David Messias, says Scotia must have been having discussions with the Republic Financial Holdings about this deal. He's incensed that neither the unions nor the workers were consulted.
After operating in this region since 1888-89, have decided that a business decision that it is not making any money, it would seem, telling us, and that it is less profitable to continue in those areas, and like a thief in the night, invited all of its employees at 7:45 this morning to be advised of this particular decision. What is more immoral about this is that the bargaining agent, the Antigua and Barbuda Workers Union, and the many other trade unions throughout the OECS countries were not consulted nor engaged.
He says Scotia's scant regard for the unions and its Caribbean employees is reminiscent of slavery.
I think it is one of the barbaric kind of motion and no discussion as to what is going to happen with our workers coming forward. Only to indicate that they will meet with us, or they would look for the earliest time to meet with us as to discuss the way forward.
He wants the government in the different territories to get involved and protect the rights of its citizens.
We will have to call on our leaders in our respective countries to ensure that the multinationals do not come and use us, abuse us, and then dismiss us in the long run.
Meanwhile, Scotiabank has sold its life insurance operations in Jamaica and in Trinidad and Tobago to Sagicor. Here's more on the deal.
Scotia Group Jamaica Limited and Sagicor Financial Corporation Limited say they'll be entering into a 20-year distribution agreement. Under this agreement, Sagicor's insurance policies will be offered to Scotiabank customers in Jamaica. And as part of this partnership, Scotiabank Jamaica has agreed to sell its insurance subsidiary, Scotia Jamaica Life Insurance Company, to Sagicor. Also, the employees of Scotia Jamaica Life Insurance Company will join Sagicor, or a new licensed insurance sales entity will be created as a result of this transaction. In a release today, Sagicor said that the agreement is subjected to regulatory approval and customary closing conditions, whereby Sagicor will be acquired by the Canadian company Alinvest Corporation. And after regulatory conditions are met, Sagicor Insurance will be listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange and consequently will be delisted from the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange, the Barbados Stock Exchange, and the London Stock Exchange. President and CEO of Scotiabank Jamaica, David Noel, said now they'll be able to combine the strengths of Scotiabank Jamaica with Sagicor to deliver an enhanced, best-in-class suite of insurance products and services to customers across Jamaica. Additionally, President and CEO of Sagicor Group Jamaica, Christopher Zaka, said this partnership with Scotiabank is an opportunity for growth for Sagicor in the English-speaking Caribbean through a new channel of distribution for its products. The release said Scotiabank Jamaica and Sagicor will work together once the transaction closes to ensure a smooth transition for both employees and customers.
In the meantime, the government in Antigua and Barbuda and Guyana have expressed concerns about Scotiabank's decision to sell its operations in their respective countries. Antigua and Barbuda's Prime Minister Gaston Brown said the bank's decision goes against the country's laws. He said the deal cannot proceed until an application is made to the government and approval given. He argued that it is illegal for Scotiabank to decide to sell its operation in Antigua and Barbuda without any form of consultation with the regulators or the agreement of the finance minister. Meanwhile, in Guyana, the government said the sale raises a number of issues. The Ministry of Finance, in a statement, pointed out that the Financial Institutions Act has clear stipulations regarding acquisition of control and requires approval of the Bank of Guyana following the submission of an application and due diligence being conducted. The ministry also had concerns about the large share that Trinidad's Republic Financial Holdings would now have in the country's banking sector. And Scotia Group Jamaica's president and CEO David Noel is responding to critics. He said when all the transactions are completed, the Scotia Group will still have the majority shares of customers in the Caribbean. Here's more.
It started in September when Scotia Jamaica announced that it will be moving some of its operations in Jamaica to the central hub in the Dominican Republic. The move was expected to leave some 100 Jamaican employees without a job. And then yesterday, the group made two more announcements. It will be selling its operations in 9 Caribbean countries to the Trinidad-based Republic Financial Holdings Limited. These are banks in Guyana, St. Martin, Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica, Grenada, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And it will also be selling its life insurance operations in Trinidad and Tobago to Sagicor. This left unions across the region enraged at what they say is Scotia's lack of consultation with them before making these decisions. But President and CEO of Scotia Group Jamaica, David Noel, is seeking to assure them that in the end it will work out for everyone.
At the end of these transactions, Scotiabank across the Caribbean will still serve 92% of the public in the Caribbean. We'll still have 7,700 employees serving over 1.5 million customers.
He says unions should bear in mind that the Scotia Group is a regional organization and it has a duty to its customers and stakeholders to operate in the most efficient way.
That as a regional organization, we owe it to our customers, our employees, and our stakeholders to ensure that we're finding the most efficient way to serve our customers. And that sometimes means leveraging centers or locations where we have scale and we have the appropriate skills to serve multiple markets. Jamaica is one of the countries that benefits most from those sorts of arrangements. Our contact center, which has been in Jamaica for many years and continues to grow, now serves all of the Caribbean. We closed a number of contact centers in a number of different islands, including Trinidad, and those jobs came here to Jamaica.
He says it's normal for jobs to be transferred in a global economy and points out that the Jamaican economy benefits greatly from this.
But I think we have to be careful about saying, moving jobs across border is a bad thing, because I think Jamaica also has the potential that if we are saying we don't want jobs to go anywhere, if other countries were saying we don't want our jobs to go to Jamaica, there could be a negative impact there. And I believe in this global economy, we need to be able to operate across borders. We have to be fair to employees, we have to be transparent, but we need to be able to operate in a way so that we can continue to build businesses to serve the region and to serve the people of Jamaica.
When we come back, exploring the Red Planet, the first ever spacecraft designed to study the inner depths of Mars has landed. More on that after this break. Welcome back to Weekend Business Report. The first ever spacecraft designed to study the inner depths of Mars has successfully touched down on the Red Planet. Scientists are hoping the InSight mission will help shed light on how the planet was formed billions of years ago. Here's more.
InSight should now be experiencing the peak heating rate.
After 10 years of dreaming, designing, and testing,
my heart was basically, I think, just stopped beating for 7 minutes. I don't know if that's healthy or not, but then when we got the indication of parachute deployment, which was absolutely terrifying thing to think about, we got that positive, and then listening to Christine Soleil call out as we got closer and closer to the surface, every time she made a call out, the hairs on the back of my neck would start rising a little bit higher, a little bit higher.
Touchdown for the Mars InSight lander on Monday, as suggested by this animation.
Touchdown confirmed.
Then, InSight's first photo from its new home, the Elysium Planitia. Using a 2-meter robotic arm, a seismometer, and other instruments, InSight will dig a hole 5 meters deep so it can record so-called Mars quakes and calculate just how hot the red planet's inner layers get. They want to understand why Mars, which once may have been habitable by life, is no longer. NASA scientists say this data will help them understand more about Mars's origins and perhaps about the Earth's as well, and boost U.S. efforts to get humans on Mars by the 2030s.
We can actually begin to estimate, which ones might be habitable and which ones maybe not habitable based on some of the geophysical understanding that we'll get just by looking at Mars.
Liftoff of the Atlas V.
If sending InSight to Mars was the hard part, one NASA scientist says it's only going to get harder. But that first photo will be a big help.
Everyone gathered around the very front and was immediately deciding where could we place instruments, and this is a great indication. We were all certain that that first image would help us determine how difficult of a job we would have in placing the instruments, and I'm very happy that it looks like we'll be able to do it quite easily, we hope.
The payoff is already coming in. A second photo taken by one of 2 mini communication satellites that flew with InSight. This and the prospect of future discoveries have these scientists celebrating before they get back to work. Rosalind Jordan, Al Jazeera, Washington.
And that's our show for this week. On behalf of the entire Weekend Business Report team, I'm Keneal. See you next time.